All right, welcome to another episode of The Comic Source. This is your host, Jace, here with my good buddy, Manny.
Hello.
And we're going to go down our list of our favorite comics of 2014, including some creators and maybe some moments and maybe some news stories. So let me just do a quick rundown so you guys know which categories we're going to be making our picks in. I'm just going to go down this list real fast. We have Best New Hero or Hero Team, Best New Villain or Villain Team, Best New Ongoing Comic, so that's a comic that started in the year 2014, Best Limited Series, which would be the last issue shipped in 2014, Best Cliffhanger or Best Moment, Favorite Moment, Best Storyline, so that can be all inclusive in one title, or it can be a crossover or an event. Best Sleeper or Surprise Hit, Best Ongoing Comic, that can be a comic that either started in 2014 or a previous year. Best Graphic Novel or One-Shot, so that can be like an annual or a graphic album, artist edition, what have you. Best Writer, Best Artist, Best Writer/Artist, so that's for a creator who both writes and draws his own book. Best Inker, Best Color Artist, Best New Talent or Breakthrough Talent, so that can be someone who had their first work in 2014 or someone who we feel kind of hit the big time in 2014. Most Underrated Book or book that you think more people should be reading. Our Biggest Disappointment, so that can be a project, a certain issue, or just maybe some kind of event that happened in the world of comics. The biggest comic story of 2014, likewise, that can be something that happened in an actual issue or a movie, TV, so that can be wide-ranging. And finally, our book, project, or event that we're most looking forward to in 2015. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to kind of list our nominees, in each category, the people or creators or books that we considered for each category, and then Manny and I will make our picks. So let's start out with Best New Hero or Hero Team. For my nominees, people I considered, I have Miss Marvel from the Marvel Comics series written by G. Willow Wilson, G.I. Zombie from the Jimmy Palmiotti written Star Spangled War Stories starring G.I. Zombie, and Asa Stonethrow from Rise of the Magi written by Mark Silvestri. You have any heroes to add to that list, Manny?
Actually, the only two heroes on my list are Asa Stone and G.I. Zombie as well.
All right, well, my pick is Asa Stonethrow from Rise of the Magi.
I couldn't agree more with you.
Yeah, that's a great series. It's really a lot of fun. So for me, the thing that makes Asa Stonethrow so heroic is that he's not your prototypical hero. He's kind of in over his head, and despite all that, he's still, going against the bad guys. He's still trying to do the right thing and save our world and his world as well.
Yeah, what I like is in the beginning, he's so sure of himself that he wants to go out and adventure, and he's reading comics. And then, like you said, he's thrown into this situation when he goes off to try to prank his brother, and all of a sudden he wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice development from, I want to do this, to, you know what, this is a lot harder than it looks, to having to kind of, I guess, man up.
Yeah, exactly. He wants the great big adventure, but I guess the old saying is true, be careful what you wish for.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, our next category, Best New Villain or Villain Team. People on my list, I had Joker's daughter, Wraith from Superman Unchained, Dr. Elisa Warsame from the new Moon Knight series from Marvel, and the Armor Hunters from the Armor Hunter event over at Valiant. Have anybody to add to that list?
No, my list is for that one is short as well. I have Joker's daughter and Wraith as well.
Okay, and for me, my pick is Wraith. I just thought that it was a very interesting way to create a villain, kind of like a what-if Superman had come to Earth under different circumstances. Very complex character, but at the beginning, I'm not even sure that you see him as a villain, but by the end of the series, there's no doubt that he's a villain.
Well, in the beginning, Wraith is trying to get him on his side, isn't he? To go more in line with the government.
Yeah, true. I mean, you don't. At least for me, I never trusted him from the beginning. But still, maybe it seemed that his intentions were good, but he wasn't necessarily a villain. But he certainly wasn't a hero in the sense that Superman's a hero. But by the end of the series, for me, no doubt he's a villain.
True.
Was that your pick as well, Wraith?
You know, it was between Wraith and Joker's daughter, and I'd probably go with Joker's daughter, just because she showed up in a couple of different books throughout 2014. She had her first appearance in Catwoman. She also had her own cover. Actually, no, that was last year. But she had a nice little part in Batman Eternal, where she was pretty much taking over Arkham, and some of her doings led to the demise of Arkham Asylum. So I think I'm going to go with her.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I'd almost want to say her star's on the rise, but I don't know if that's the way you'd put it when, you know, it's a villain. Maybe her star's on the decline, but she's definitely becoming more of a major player. Her role in Batman Eternal, it seems that she's definitely has something dastardly going on there. And also, her being in the new Suicide Squad, and I don't know that we'll see her show up in the new Suicide Squad movie, but the Suicide Squad as a whole are going to gain more prominence this year as their movie comes closer and closer to being released. So I could certainly see her popularity rising. You know, the Joker's always been a popular villain, so I certainly see her becoming a major threat in the DC universe going forward. So,
well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because in the new Suicide Squad where she pops up, it was a nice issue when she fights Harley, due to the fact that they put her on the same team, but then she kind of disappears for a bit. So what I'm looking forward to seeing if she ever gets to meet the Joker. I mean, we see him now in Batman in Endgame. Well, let's see if he survives first, and see if they ever meet up or if they ever work together. And so, yeah, it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna be interesting to see how she develops.
maybe they'll come out with a whole Joker's family.
That would be kind of cool.
Son, daughter, dog. That'd be funny. Okay, next category is Best New Ongoing Comic. Comics I considered Harley Quinn. I think maybe technically Zero came out 2013, but I'm going to put it on my list anyway. Star Spangled War Stories starring G.I. Zombie. The latest Hulk series from Marvel. The latest Moon Knight series from Marvel. Rye from Valiant. Rise of the Magi, which we've already mentioned, from Top Cow. Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man. Also Kyle Higgins creator-owned book Cowl Image. So a lot of great books started in 2014. It made my choice very tough. So you have anything to add to those choices there, Manny?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to add Scott Snyder's Witches. That it's 3 issues in, but I mean it's really good.
I think that's isn't that a limited though? I think it's a limited.
I'm not sure. You know what? I think you're right.
So maybe for best limited series. Okay. Well, my choice for best new ongoing's got to be Rise of the Magi. I've covered that on the Comic Source before, and I believe I said it was an instant classic. I stand by that. Issue 5 just came out this last Wednesday. It was a few months between issue 4 and 5, and I was really looking forward to it. The book returning, it picked up right where it left off, and there's no change as far as the last page of each issue just leaves me wanting more, and I can't wait until issue 6 comes out. So Rise of the Magi, if you're not reading it, you need to go out and pick it up. Like I said, only 5 issues have come out, so it would be pretty easy to catch up, and my highest possible recommendation. How about you?
I have to agree with you there. Rise of the Magi. You know what's interesting about it is that I read the first 4 issues digitally, so I didn't actually pick up a comic book until I had it solicited for number 5. And my God, when I opened the book and I saw those colors on paper, I was actually it was fun. And that story, I mean, it's something everybody should pick up. It's definitely my also choice for best new ongoing series.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you don't know much about Rise of the Magi, go back and watch my episode that spotlights on Rise of the Magi, and it'll take you 10 minutes to watch the episode, and you can learn everything about it. And also, I'll mention that if you go to the Top Cow website, I believe they have issue 0 there that you can read for free, so you can go and check it out and see exactly what you've been missing. Okay, so our next category, Best Limited Series, 2014. So a few items I had here. I had Wildfire from Top Cow, Death of Wolverine from Marvel Comics, Superman Unchained finally finished up in 2014, X-Con, which was a limited series put out by Dynamite, written by Dwayne Swarzinski, and Witches that you mentioned from Image Comics by Scott Snyder. Have any nominees to add to that list there, Manny?
No, actually, I just had to type in Witches on my list because I had it on the wrong list.
Okay, well, my choice is going to be... Well, first of all, I should say that this was a pretty tough choice for me. Up until the final issue, I thought my choice was going to be X-Con because it was really good, a lot of twists and turns in the plot, but the ending kind of felt like a letdown for me, so ultimately I had to go with Death of Wolverine, Charles Soule. Beautiful art by Steve McNiven, I believe. If I have any complaint about it, I feel like it could have been maybe one big 48-page or 64-page special, maybe 2 issues. It was 4 issues, and honestly, I probably read the whole entire thing in less than 30 minutes. All that being said, it was still a great story, a fitting end for Wolverine. It doesn't end necessarily the way you'd expect it, with some huge, massive, bloody fight between like Wolverine and Sabretooth, or Wolverine and some other substantial villain. But at the end, it was a fitting and noble death for Wolverine. I have no illusions that he won't be back. I don't think anybody does. But for me, it was the best miniseries that I read in 2014.
With me, it was more of a toss-up between Wildfire, Matt Hawkins, and Witches. But I think just because it was complete, I'm going to go with Wildfire. Interesting scenario where GMOs are being tested in plants so that they can grow faster. They have a little accident with protesters, and these plants spread like, wildfire and literally catch on fire, putting Los Angeles in a very tough spot. It's a great book. Like if you've read Think Tank, you know that you get your money's worth out of those books, because at the end of each book you get a little section where you learn a little bit more of what's going on in real life, whether it's GMOs, pros and cons of them, websites where you can check out what they're talking about in the book, YouTube videos. I mean, Matt really does his homework and to fill you in so that you can really feel involved in what you're reading and know that it's not just fiction. It could actually one day turn into something real, something that's really going on. So it's I'm going to go with Wildfire.
Yeah, we should mention that GMO stands for genetically modified organism. So, and like you said, definitely something that exists out there in the world today. A lot of the foods we eat are modified genetically, whether it's so they don't have to use so many pesticides, or to make it resistant to a certain plant disease, or make it resistant to pets, or so that it is a hardier strain of whatever particular food they're growing, so it can survive harsher weather conditions. So like Manny said, it's not something that's fiction. It's out there, it's possible, and yeah, that was a really good series. I definitely considered it. Okay, so our next category is Best Cliffhanger or Moment from 2014. Another really tough category of a lot of nominees, a lot of moments, cliffhangers that I considered, and I could have gone on and on, but I'll just run down real fast the ones I considered. I have the house blows up, or cabin blows up at the end of Clone number 15. Likewise, from Clone, baby taken into the office with a bomb. Clone 19. Arclight kills John from Cal number 5. We discover Fatality is a Durlin in Green Lantern Corps number 33. The yacht blows up with Redmond's family aboard from Thief of Thieves number 21. Mark Spector, Moon Knight, loses his powers and is stuck in an office as it explodes from Moon Knight number 9. And the Green Lanterns go to rescue their captured comrades from Green Lantern number 31. those are the ones I considered. How about you, Manny? What do you have on your list?
I have on here, and I don't have the issue of Justice League, the introduction of Lex Luthor to the Justice League. I also have Batman Part 2 of Endgame, where a moment where Batman and Superman are fighting when Superman's being controlled by the Joker.
He's Jokerized.
And then also Clone 20. I'm not even going to tell you what it is because you should read it yourself. It's the ending to Clone 20, what you find out of what's really going on, and then the note that David Schulner puts right after it just to make you even a little bit more crazier.
Yeah, you know, I didn't consider that, but that's kind of true. That's kind of almost a real life cliffhanger. Okay, so my choice was the house blows up at the end of Clone number 15. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, let me just say that the writer or writers, a writing team for Clone, these guys, as their day job, they write TV shows. And as any TV writer will tell you, you kind of have to build in mini cliffhangers several times during a show because you want people to come back after the commercial and things like that. So David Schulner's gone on record before as saying when he first started writing, he almost felt like he had to put a cliffhanger at the end of each page to make sure the person would turn the page to go to the next book. So more so than any book I've ever read, Clone is chock full of cliffhangers. And the reason I picked this particular issue is because I order my books from DCBS, and so I can't wait that long, so I always buy Clone digitally because I only get my DCBS books at the end of the month. When Clone comes out, I have to buy it that day so I can read it immediately. And I was reading Clone 15 digitally, and as I'm scrolling through, I get to the page, the house blows up, and I literally say out loud, "Don't be the last page, don't be the last page, don't be the last page." And I scroll down on my mouse wheel, it goes to the next page, and it's the letters page. Sure enough, it was the last page. Schulner had me jumping up and down, saying, "Damn it, I can't believe that's the last page. I have to wait 30 days before I find out what happened." So all that being said, I couldn't not pick Clone number 15. And funny thing, when I was at San Diego Comic-Con in 2014 and finally got to meet David Schulner, he actually signed my Clone 15 on the last page. He turned to that page of the house blowing up, and he said, "Sorry, this was the last page," and he signed his name, so that was really cool. Okay, Manny, what was your pick?
Mine was also from the Clone family, Clone 20. That maybe not even as bad as the cliffhanger on that very end, but then the note saying that they're going to take a break. And I'm sitting there going, wait, what? Hold on. No, you can't do that. You just dropped the bombshell. You can't put this on the shelf. You need to tell me what's going to... It's not even 30 days anymore now. It's a couple of months. Now it's... Well, at this point, I don't know when we're going to get Clone 21.
Yeah, Season 2 of Clone. I'm anxiously awaiting that. So yeah, that's a great pick. Okay, our next category is Best Storyline 2014, and storylines I considered were the new 52 Future's End weekly series from DC. Likewise, a DC weekly, Batman Eternal, and then a couple Marvel crossovers, Original Sin, which kind of got rid of the old Nick Fury once and for all. And then the Access crossover from Marvel, which we're still seeing fallout from that with Superior Iron Man. And then the Armor Hunters line-wide crossover over at Valiant Comics. Have any storylines you considered beyond those, Manny?
Did you say Clone?
I did not.
Okay, yeah. Clone definitely had a good storyline. Batman Endgame. That storyline is actually... very good, and we'll see where they go with that. With the return of the Joker, who's it gonna be at the end? Someone's got to go. I think. Rise of the Magi you mentioned, and yeah, that's what I have.
Okay, my pick out of all those was Batman Eternal. I don't know if it's maybe because it's a weekly book, so in a way it's almost cheating because it comes out every week. They get to pack a lot more into the book. There's a lot of threads, a lot of storylines going in. And because it comes out every week, every issue doesn't have to have every storyline in it. They can skip an issue or two and focus on just maybe two of the storylines or two of the plot points that are going on, because it's only the next week or 2 weeks that you have to wait rather than a full month. So they get to pack a lot more in, and it's certainly a good story. The very first page of the very first issue was kind of a peek at the end of Batman Eternal, and I'm very anxious to see how they get to that point.
Likewise.
And I'm also very interested to see who the big bad is. There's been quite a bit of speculation between Manny and I on just who it could be, and yeah, I'm anxiously waiting to see. I guess we only have a couple months left, so we'll see how that turns out. So who's your pick, man? Or what's your pick, Manny? Best storyline 2014? I'm
going to go with Endgame, just because it seems like it's going to be the close between Snyder and Capullo. They've done a couple of storylines already with 0 Year, and before that with Court of Owls, and then also Death of a Family. And they say that they don't know what's going to happen afterwards. They might separate, but this is, they're going to go off with a bang. They promised that this was going to be full of surprises and things you didn't see coming, and so far they've delivered a very, very good arc, especially with the beginning being Batman versus the Justice League, and they're being controlled by the Joker gas. So I'm going to go with that.
Wow, see, you think they're going to split up, huh? You think Capullo's going to leave, or Snyder?
They're making it... I don't know. Snyder has so many projects going on at the same time right now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, something's got to give, and some of their Twitter back and forth, I kind of get a hint that maybe, I don't know. So it looks like we may get another new Batman team after Convergence, but we'll see what happens. I hope not, because I love them working together.
You think they both leave?
They might, because they've worked so well together. They may just want a fresh take.
Yeah, maybe Capullo doesn't want to do it without Snyder, or Snyder doesn't want to do it without Capullo. I don't know. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, with Convergence, it'd be a great time, I guess, for them to kind of leave on a high note.
Yeah.
And DC, though, that would really hurt them. I mean, Batman's their best-selling book. I don't know if it would survive. Well, I guess we'll see. Okay, on to the next category, Best Sleeper or Surprise Hit of 2014. Kind of a short list for me. Like I said, there was a lot of great books that started in 2014. For me, I went with the two that surprised me the most. Not that I assumed that the latest Moon Knight or latest Hulk from Marvel were going to be great, or Harley Quinn was going to be as good as it is, but these two books surprised me the most, probably because I didn't know anything about them ahead of time. They weren't established properties, and they really jumped out and grabbed me. And that is Letter 44, written by Charles Soule. That's his creator-owned book over at Oni Press. And the other one I considered was A Voice in the Dark, and that is put out by Top Cow. Creator-owned book by a creator named Laramie Taylor. So yeah, I just had those two. How about you?
The only one I do add to that is actually Harley Quinn, and that's a tough one for me because I recently went through Letter 44. The story just blew me away, just because of how it deals with aliens, but at the same time of how realistic it seems. Like that's probably what would happen.
Yeah, and in fact, Letter 44 is my pick for this category. When I talked to Charles Soule about Letter 44 at San Diego this last year, I mentioned to him how much it reminded me of the TV show 24, and his response to that was, well, it's not a coincidence that they both have numbers in the title. So I think this is a little bit of an homage to the Fox series starring Jack Bauer. So it's a great story. I recommend it to anybody. Like Manny said, very, very realistic to see this unfold. I'll just give a real quick synopsis. When each president leaves office, he leaves a letter, personally handwritten letter for the next president to come in. And when the 43rd president leaves office, he leaves a letter to the 44th president saying, hey, we've discovered aliens, here's what we're doing about it. and the series goes from there. So very, very, very intriguing, very suspenseful, characterizations well done, and yeah, definitely Letter 44 was a big surprise hit for me. Like I said, I didn't know what to expect, and I anxiously await that book every month.
You know, my pick has to be Harley Quinn, just because of the impact that I never thought, you know, character developed for the animated series would have in the comic world. The top 100 books came out a couple weeks ago, and you know, it was a lot of Spider-Man, it was a lot of Batman, and you know, of course we're used to that. Those are the company's two big sellers. Well, one for Marvel, one for DC. But the third best is not Superman. It's not, you know, Avengers. X-Men. It's Harley Quinn.
Yep.
Whether it's annuals, whether it's, you know, just her books in general, just, you know.
Yeah, not only was that a surprise for you, it was a surprise for DC, it was a surprise for Jimmy, a surprise for Amanda. Yeah, Harley Quinn has just took the industry by storm in 2014, and what's really cool is the fact that if you go to a convention where Jimmy and Amanda are attending, they're so gracious with their fans. They sign for everybody, take a few minutes to talk to you, but their line is long, but if you look at their line, a lot of women in their line. A lot of females, a lot of not the typical comic book reader. Harley Quinn is bringing in new readers, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, they have a Harley Quinn variant next month for all the books, and what I like about her with the books, you know, what Jimmy and Amanda do really well is that you can pick up at any point and not feel like left out. I mean, it'd be good to read, you know, from 1 to what they have now, but at any point you want to pick up number 3, you want to pick up 7. Each of them has its own little story that, you know, although it's in the greater scheme of things, it's all connected. You know, you don't really feel left out. And then they had a really cool annual. They called it the Rub and Smell.
Yeah.
Which surprised me because I didn't know how good it was going to be, but it actually worked out really well. From the moment you open the first page and you rub on her leather jacket, you know, I was kind of almost drawn in a little bit more.
Yeah, and we should also mention that the art by Chad Hardin is top notch.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's perfectly suited for that book. You know, his lines are clean, and the way he renders the panels with everything kind of not necessarily in perfect proportion. You know, the expressions are a little exaggerated. It really suits like the madcap style of the book. So kudos to Chad Hardin. Okay, our next category here is Best Ongoing Comic. So again, this could be a comic that started from before 2014. And my categories, or I'm sorry, my picks, the nominees, if you will, that I considered. East of West, which is Jonathan Hickman's post-apocalyptic Western sci-fi crazy book from Image. Clone, which we've talked about at length already. Harbinger from Valiant Entertainment. Cowl from Image Comics, Kyle Higgins creator-owned. Grayson, the new book from DC Comics starring the presumed dead Nightwing. The latest Hulk series from Marvel. Thief of Thieves from Image Comics, Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint. And Archer and Armstrong, also from Valiant. Do you have any ongoings that you want to add to that, Manny?
Easily. Batman.
Well, of course, Batman.
Batman, and I want to add the Justice League and Aquaman.
Aquaman, that's a good pick. Definitely one that's flying below the radar. I feel like Aquaman was on a lot of people's pull list when it was Jeff Johns on the book with the cachet that he has, but maybe a lot of people don't realize the book hasn't missed a beat since Jeff Parker came on as writer.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Johns did a great job at, you know, kind of giving him more of a badass look, because everybody always says, oh, Aquaman, he talks to fish.
Yeah.
But with what Jeff did and what Jeff Parker's doing now, you know, pick up Aquaman. You'll see a nice more heroic side to him.
So what's your pick? Best ongoing. You go first this time.
Easily. My pick is Batman. Batman's my favorite character. Always has been. and with what they did with Zero Year, with how they went into Endgame, you know, Batman, just the stories are always solid. I like the way they wrapped it up with the Riddler, and then now with Endgame, you know, the return of the Joker. That was really good. The art is solid with Greg Capullo, and then also the inking is done really well by Danny Mickey. So to me, the choice is always easily Batman. That's the first book I grab to read every month as soon as it comes out.
The top of your stack, huh?
Definitely.
You know what's interesting? The New 52 launch, they put Scott Snyder on the book. He wasn't a hugely popular writer, wasn't, you know, widely known. He'd had the critically acclaimed run on Detective Comics right before DC rebooted with the New 52. But I remember that year, 2011, at San Diego Comic-Con, and the following year, 2012, even though Batman had been their best-selling book for a year, Snyder could still just kind of walk around the DC booth and he wasn't mobbed. That wasn't the case 2013, 2014. Snyder couldn't walk around. Everybody knew who he was. And so it's very interesting to me to see long-term, especially with us talking about maybe Snyder's not going to be on the book anymore. So he'll have, like a 40-issue run on Batman. Where will he stack up, like, historically from all-time Batman writers? I have a feeling he'll be up there really high, but if he does leave, maybe he won't be as high as he could be or deserves to be, because he won't have quite as long of a run as, say, someone like Grant Morrison, or who are some other great Batman writers? Maybe Denny O'Neil, some people like that. So how do you feel about that, Manny?
You know, it's upsetting because now you talk about that. While you were talking to Scott Snyder, I walked right by you two and just completely ignored him at WonderCon a couple years ago. And to this day, I tell people this story. I walked right by this guy, and it's one of the moments I regret the most in my life. Let's just put it that way. You know, it'll be interesting to see what they do after Convergence. I really hope they stay, but I don't know. Maybe with moving to Burbank, and maybe they're just trying to reboot, you know, in quotations, reboot the series after this. Because who knows? What if they kill off the Joker, and something weird happens during Convergence, and they bring him back? You know, that can happen. You know, weirder things have happened. I mean, just look at how many Robins have died and how many are still around.
Yeah, that's true, but, you know, Scott Snyder's kind of a golden child over at DC. If he wants to keep doing Batman, he can keep doing Batman. He's going to be able to do Batman for as long as he wants to do it. So if he does leave the book, that's going to be because it's his choice. And maybe he just wants a break from it for a while. Maybe he'll come back to it at some point. But like I said, it'll be very interesting to me to see if he does leave the book, where will he, you know, stack up all time. I certainly feel like, although I'm not a fan of Grant Morrison, that he, in most people's mind, is one of the great Batman writers of all time, especially in recent memory. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see where Scott Snyder stacks up all time. You know, Denny O'Neil, Bill Finger, Frank Miller, you know, these are all writers who really put their stamp on Batman, and there's no arguing that Scott Snyder has definitely put his stamp on Batman. So we'll see. I mean, I personally hope he doesn't leave. Just like you, I think he does a great job. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me. He does have a lot of creator-owned projects going on, and it seems to me he's the kind of guy that he tells the stories he wants to tell, and he won't stay on a book if he doesn't have a great idea. He won't stay on a book just to stay on a book.
True.
You know, if he doesn't have any particular ideas for a story going forward, you know, it seems like he would step away, kind of recharge his batteries, and then come back later. You know, the same reason him and Jim Lee didn't continue Superman Unchained after 9 issues.
I thought that was going to be a lot longer.
Yeah, so did I. So did a lot of people. But he told the story he wanted to tell, and, you know, that was it.
You left out just the honorable mentions for Batman authors. Alan Grant.
Oh, Alan Grant's another good one, yeah. Long run on detective.
And then I have Paul Dini on this list.
Oh, Batman Adventures, yeah, true. Okay, well, that's enough about Batman. Let's move on to our next category. Oh, wait.
Never enough Batman. No, you didn't give your pick.
I didn't give my pick. My pick, a book we've already talked about at length here, so I'm just going to mention it real fast. Clone, David Schulner, from Robert Kirkman's Skybound imprint. Like I said, we've talked about it a lot. It's one of my favorite books. If you're not reading it or haven't read it, go out, pick it up. The first season is done. That comprise issues 1 through 20. They're all available in trade. Gets a great story. It gets my highest possible recommendation. Go out, read it. It's been optioned as a TV show, and Schulner and his two writing partners are working on the pilot right now for Sci-Fi Channel. Whether it gets picked up or not, we don't know. We haven't heard yet, but hopefully it will, and I believe it would make a great TV show. It's very suspenseful, very dramatic, and I can't wait for season 2 to start. And I should mention those two other writers that are on David Schulner's writing team, Aaron Ginsberg and Wade McIntyre. And as I said before, these guys work together on a daily basis, working on TV shows, creating TV shows, and that's their day job. And then at night they work on Clone. It's kind of their vanity project, their little way to unwind, have fun, to put out this great comic from Image Comics. Okay, so our next category, Best Graphic Novel or One-Shot. Ones I considered: Thanos Infinity Revelation, Jim Starlin over at Marvel. The Teen Titans Earth 1 graphic novel by the Dodsons. Spider-Man Family Business from Marvel. And then the Think Tank Fun with PTSD, written by Matt Hawkins over at Top Cow. Have some nominees to add to that, Manny?
Yeah, for one-shots, Batman 66, The Lost Episode, Batman Annual number 3, and then I have Grant Morrison's Multiversity Society of Superheroes, Conquerors from the Counter World, the Harley Quinn Annual number 1, the Rub and Smell. Yeah, those are my nominees.
Wow, is this the first category where we don't have any that overlap?
What, I think so.
Wow. Okay, what'd you pick?
I picked Batman 66, The Lost Episode, just kind of out of nostalgia. To be honest with you, I don't really read Batman 66 besides maybe the first 3 that came out. I read those digitally, which Batman 66 honestly should be read digitally, just because of the way they add the pals and the, you know, it's a little bit more interactive than your typical comic. But the Lost Episode features Two-Face. Now the story behind this is that during the original Batman television run, Harlan Ellison had turned in an outline for a story that would have introduced Two-Face to the TV show. Now, what I heard when I got to go to one of the panels at Long Beach Comic Con was that they were kind of trying to stay away from those kind of gritty and dark villains, you know, because, you know, it wasn't deemed appropriate for television. But I guess they were going to try it out with Two-Face. And
well, the Joker was on there. Does it get more dark than him? I guess the way they portrayed him was more as a clown.
Completely. But what makes it interesting is that cool thing is that they thought maybe even Clint Eastwood was gonna play maybe not Two-Face but a villain, but it was rumored that, you know, they were looking into him because, to be honest with you, during that time I guess a lot of celebrities were just lining up trying to play villains. If I'm not mistaken, Frank Sinatra wanted to play the Joker.
Yeah, I think I've heard that before.
And a couple of other names from back then, which don't resonate too much with me because of my age. And yeah, so this is a great book that not only tells you the story of Two-Face, but also gives you a little bit of behind the scenes of what it could have been, the original script, and things like that. So yeah, Batman 66, The Lost Episode.
That's very interesting. I guess at the end of the day, the Joker, even though he's really dark in the comics, doesn't necessarily look dark, whereas a villain with half his face burned off with acid is kind of going to look terrifying to children regardless of how the actor portrays him.
You know, it's true, and it's interesting because I've thought about it. If the Joker on TV and everything, he's really cool. But if he was in the same room with you, I am sure you would try to leave as soon as you can.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to have seen what a different path Clint Eastwood's career might have taken had he played Two-Face on the Batman TV show.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm sure there's an Earth out there, an alternate reality where that came to pass. All right, my pick for best graphic novel or one-shot is Spider-Man Family Business from Marvel. I kind of picked this up on a whim and read it, and it was just a fun kind of throwback to the old Spider-Man books of my youth that I remember fondly. I'll admit I'm not a huge Spider-Man reader anymore. I've read some of the Superior Spider-Man. I've read a few issues of the new Amazing Spider-Man series, but for the last 10 years or so, I haven't really kept up with what's been going on with Spider-Man. So it was fun to kind of pick this up, and I didn't need to be caught up and know what was going on with Spider-Man recently to appreciate the story. And it had Kingpin in a Hawaiian shirt, so how can you not? Just to give a quick little blurb about what the book was about. Spider-Man finds out that he has a sister, or what could be a sister, and him and this sister who works for the CIA or some government agency like that, kind of a spy or secret agent. They kind of delve into the past of Peter Parker's parents, who we had known previously for years and years that they were spies, government agents, and they kind of go on this globe-trotting adventure to find out if she really is in fact Spider-Man's sister, and it was just a really, really fun read. So, like I said, I picked it up on a whim, and I was glad that I did. Okay, our next category, also very, very tough one, and I have quite a few nominees here, and honestly, I could have had about 8 or 9 more, and that's Best Writer. I considered Matt Hawkins over at Top Cow, David Schulner, Nick Spencer, who writes Morning Glories, among many other books, but the reason he's on my list is for Morning Glories, one of my favorite books. Charles Soule, also very prolific writer. I think he set a record, actually, for the most books by one writer out in a month this year. I believe he had, at one point, 13 books come out in one of the months in 2014. Scott Snyder, who we've talked about at length. Joshua Dysart, writer of the Harbinger family of books over at Valiant. Matt Kint also has a creator-owned book at Dark Horse, but also works at Valiant. Robert Venditti, Flash, Green Lantern, Exo Manowar over at Valiant, and then Kyle Higgins, who started the year out on Nightwing, also did Batman Beyond at DC, contributed to Batman Eternal, and then his creator-owned book, Cowl. Have any nominees to add to that list, Manny?
Yeah, unless I'm hard of hearing, did you not have Mark Silvestri on your list?
I do not have Mark Silvestri on my list.
That's surprising.
Yeah, well, like I said, I could have had 8 or 9 more people, but at some point I had to cut it off.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, this year there's so many good writers. Yeah, the only ones I'm going to add to that list, Mark Silvestri and Jeff Johns.
Mark Silvestri on the strength of Rise of the Magi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Jeff Johns, Justice League.
Justice League, and then that Forever Evil wrapped up. And I wasn't too fond of Superman, but Justice League kind of makes up for it.
Yeah, Forever Evil ended 2014. I feel that book was hurt by the delays. Interesting, Jeff Johns just came out this last week in an interview that he did with Jason Fabok, his current artist on Justice League, stating unequivocally that Forever Evil is a Lex Luthor story.
Yeah.
Which, it makes sense to hear him say that, having read it. But I don't know if Forever Evil would have had the same momentum going into the series had he said that beforehand. But basically, at the end of the day, he almost makes it sound like the whole reason for Forever Evil, the whole reason for the entire event, was to set up a situation where Lex Luthor could have a huge role in saving the world and to get him into the Justice League. Seems like they could have done that without a huge universe-spanning event, but I'm not Jeff Johns, so there you go. Okay, so who's your pick?
Scott Snyder, Batman.
Batman again.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing on Witches is is awesome.
Oh, that's true. Witches. Also, he had critically acclaimed The Wake series.
Yes.
Come out this year, which I didn't read, so I'm sure it was good. It was Scott Snyder. Also, his American Vampire series came back at Vertigo.
I've been wanting to pick that up. I had not have time, but yeah, definitely. So yeah, based on the strengths of what he's doing with Batman, Witches, and also he has a role also in Batman Eternal.
That's true.
So I mean, this guy's busy as well. So that's my pick.
Good pick. Of all the people we named, I don't feel like there's anybody who's a bad pick.
I kind of feel bad, not picking Matt Hawkins just because the stuff he wrote was great. I mean, Charles Soule. I mean, come on, really? With as much as he wrote?
Well, you know what? I'll let you off the hook a little bit. I'll just pick Charles Soule.
Okay, that works.
Letter 44, Death of Wolverine, which was my favorite limited series of the year. Swamp Thing. He did some work on Red Lanterns this last year. She-Hulk over at Marvel. I mean, I just love the guy. Great writer, and I'm a little sad that he's exclusive over at Marvel now, because I don't necessarily read that many Marvel books these days. But with him over there exclusively, I have a feeling that the number of Marvel books I read will be increasing. But that being said, even though he's exclusive at Marvel, his Letter 44 creator-owned will continue at Oni, so I'm glad to hear that. So Charles Soule, my favorite writer of 2014. Our next category, likewise, my list could have been very much longer, but I really tried to limit it. I had Jim Lee, Stefan Sejic, his wife Linda Sejic, Jeremy Roberts, and Alex Garner.
On my end, I'm going to add to that list Greg Capullo and Jason Fabok and Jock.
Alrighty. Well, my pick is Jeremy Roberts. He was the artist who won the contest from Harley Quinn Zero. So he has a page in Harley Quinn Zero along with a lot of the top artists in the industry, and then based on the strength of that, he was awarded the job on New Suicide Squad. Unfortunately, for reasons unknown, he wasn't with that book for very long, and in fact, I think he only ever did 1 or 2 issues completely, and then he started having help. So I don't know if it was a scheduling issue or what exactly was the problem, but it's very disappointing for me because his stuff is just, for some reason, it really speaks to me. His pages are dynamic, beautiful, very clean lines. The storytelling is excellent from panel to panel, and I really thought with him taking over this book that he was going to blow up, but it seems like he's kind of taken a step backwards. That being said, he's still my pick, and I hope that he does more comic work very soon in the future. My other picks, Stefan Sejic, very, very prolific. It's amazing how good that guy's stuff is, considering how fast he draws. And as much as I like his stuff, I actually like his wife's stuff even more. She has a webcomic called Bloodstain. You can Google Bloodstain and find that. That's free on her DeviantArt. And she also, just this last year, started getting into some more traditional comics. She drew the Wildfire miniseries that Manny talked about earlier from Top Cow, written by Matt Hawkins. And she also works with Matt on the Tales of Honor licensed series from Top Cow, based on the novels. And then, of course, I mentioned Jim Lee. Jim Lee is Jim Lee. His stuff is always dynamic. And then Alex Garner, some of you may not be familiar with him. He mostly does cover work these days. He did some beautifully painted covers for Batman Eternal. And his stuff kind of reminds me a little bit of Michael Turner, my favorite comic artist of all time. And so he's on my list. Not because his stuff looks like Michael Turner, but on his own merits. His stuff's just great. That's my pick, Jeremy Roberts, and like I said, I hope we see more from him in the future.
My pick's going to be, originally I had picked Greg Capullo, but I think I've had a change of heart. I'm going to go Jason Fabok, just because I've been a fan of him since Detective Comics, and then the work he did for those covers last year for the 3D covers, Poison Ivy he did, and then for 0 Year he also did this amazing Jim Gordon, which is one of my favorite covers, and then also he did the cover for Endgame #1, which was really good. I mean, so many villains in that cape, and then he moved over to Justice League, and what made it interesting for me was right before he started actually doing the art for that book, he went to Facebook and to Twitter and kind of did some testing and what do you guys think with Wonder Woman and a couple
character
other
designs.
Yeah, character design. So I thought that was really cool. And right now he's doing a great job. He's been one of my favorite artists. And so, yeah, he's going to be my pick.
Yeah, I mentioned that Jeff Johns just did that interview this last week talking about Justice League and Lex Luthor's role. Fabok's in that same interview with them, and they talk a lot about how much Fabok has grown since he's been on Justice League, and he's come out and said that his favorite things to draw are the character moments and being able to nail an expression in a person's face to convey emotion, and how much he's been stretched on the book, and how grateful he is that he's on that book and he's making these strides as an artist. And it just reminded me of that when you said that your favorite cover on 0 Year was Gordon. So not even a big giant cover with Batman fighting a villain, but a character without powers and just very indicative of the things that Fabok's doing. So good pick. Okay, best writer artist. So that's a creator that both wrote and draw his own book. And for these, I considered Mike Mignola for Hellboy, Francis Manapul, Detective Comics, Jim Starlin for various Thanos cosmic Marvel stories, Alan Davis, who did the first Savage Hulk, first 6 issues of Savage Hulk, the first arc for that book from Marvel, and then Laramie Taylor, who I mentioned earlier, the writer, artist, owner, creator of A Voice in the Dark. And the final one I considered, I'm actually going to just come right out and say is my choice, and that would be the late great Jeremy Dale from Skyward. That was his creator-owned book at Action Lab, and unfortunately, Jeremy passed away extremely suddenly, without much warning at a very young age. He was in his mid-30s, and that happened in early November, and just a huge loss for the comic community in general. And my heart goes out to his wife, Kelly. And his book was just great. An all-ages book, makes for a very good bedtime story. I don't know if Kelly has plans to see it continue in the hands of another creator. I don't know if Jeremy shared any of his plans for the future of the series with her. So that's all kind of up in the air. I have yet to talk to Kelly about that. But what he did put out before his passing is definitely worth reading. His art is amazing. Very grateful for having met him. He had a big heart, super friendly. I'm glad that I have original art in my sketchbook from him. And yeah, just a big loss. And when I heard the news, I was just gutted. So my heart goes out to Kelly, as I said, and Jeremy Dale. You will be missed. So writer artist, Manny, what do you got?
You know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. I have nothing to add to that.
Alrighty. Next category, Best Inker. Here's another category where the competition is stiff. Could have chosen any of these guys on my list. A lot of them are friends, and there is not a bad inker in the bunch. And it basically kind of put the names on a dartboard and throw a dart, and you're not going to have a bad pick. But the ones I considered: Art Taber, Norm Rapman, Richard Friend, Scott Williams, Danny Mickey. Any ones you considered beyond those, Manny?
Nope, I had the same list.
Okay, well, my pick is Richard Friend, and like I said, not a bad inker in the bunch. They all do a great job. In fact, recently on Facebook, his Facebook feed, Richard Friend has been putting up a lot of pencil work. He's really been working on his pencils. So that's been interesting and entertaining to watch. But the reason I chose him for his inks is just for how meticulous he is, and how he is constantly trying to better himself and keep learning, how fan-friendly he is, and how much he shares over social media, just trying to help the guys that are coming up behind him. So, I mean, all these guys are friendly, but ultimately Richard Friend was my choice. How about you, Manny? Who'd you pick?
I picked Danny Mickey by Batman Default.
Batman Default. There you go.
Because like you said, these are all really good guys, inkers. I mean, weren't all of them on that inking panel that you recorded?
All except Scott Williams.
Yeah, besides him.
But yeah, and also there was one other person there. Victor Olazabal was there also. Yeah. So yeah, and one other thing I should mention about all these inkers that we talked about, they all work for guys or ink over guys whose pencils are extremely detailed, and it doesn't lose anything in translation. So these pencilers that they work for, I'm sure, are very appreciative of the great work these guys do. Okay, our next category is Best Color Artist, and the guys I considered there were Brian Bucoletto for Detective Comics, Jordi Belair, who worked on Moon Knight, as well as 4 or 5 other titles. I believe she's the colorist on Manhattan Projects, and she's very prolific. Also, Marcelo Maialo for his great color work on Green Lantern Corps, and then Adriano Lucas, who handles the colors on Skybound's Thief of Thieves. Have any nominees to add to that
No.
list? No. All right, who's your pick?
It was Brian Bucoletto for just his work it's really cool to watch him work when I've seen him at a couple of conventions, just because he works with watercolor a lot, and it's a little different than what some of the other guys use, and his technique's great. I love his color work. And he went from Flash, which was a really bright Central City book, to Detective Comics, which was a lot darker. And he seemed to have done he did really well in transitioning that, because it can't be easy to go from Central City to Gotham.
Yep, very true. Good pick for exactly that reason that you stated. In fact, he when I talked to him about his move from Flash over to Detective, he said he was looking forward to that. My pick is Marcelo Maialo for his work on Green Lantern Corps. And the thing I liked a lot about Marcelo, the reason I chose him, was there were a lot of panels in the book over the last year where Marcelo either went completely monochromatic or went with just 2 colors to really convey emotion, and he just did a great job. It's not often that I notice the colors in comics, more so now as I've gotten older and learned more about the industry, but there were times where I was reading Green Lantern Corps and I would get to one of those panels and I would actually have to stop and realize that the reason that panel was so impactful and the reason it made me kind of stop and focus in on that panel was because of the colors, because of either doing the whole panel in one color, just different gradients of shade of that color, or just 2 colors to really play off each other. So that's why I picked Marcelo, although I nearly picked Jordi Belair for her work on Moon Knight. She does exceptional work with Moon Knight. Could have been easily my choice, too. Okay, our next category, Best New Breakthrough Talent. People I considered: Jeremy Roberts, who I've talked about already, Babs Tarr, the new artist on Batgirl, Marguerite Bennett, who wrote The Joker's Daughter that you mentioned earlier. She's also contributing to the Earth 2 Weekly. G. Willow Wilson, who's the writer on Miss Marvel over at Marvel Comics, and Van Jensen, who is a co-writer with Robert Menditti on The Flash, and also writes Green Lantern Corps in his own right, and then Laramie Taylor for A Voice in the Dark, which I've talked about already. Have any breakthrough talent you want to add to that list, Manny?
No, actually, my list is a lot similar to yours.
All right, well, I went ahead and went with G. Willow Wilson. purely based on the fact that she's managed to make Miss Marvel, which is a book about a teen hero of, I believe she's Muslim also. So you hear that, you hear teen, female, Muslim, you don't necessarily think that book's going to last very long, and she's managed to make it both fun and well received, and I believe the sales numbers on it are fairly good also. And she's recently signed a exclusive with Marvel and is going to be doing a few more books, so she must be doing something right. So for that reason, that's my pick, G. Willow Wilson.
My pick's going to go with Babs Tarr. Kind of for similar reasons, but over with Batgirl, they kind of did a little redesign with her to make her a little bit more modern, more young girl approachable, and it seems that she's going to be she's the right person for the job. We got a chance to talk to her a couple of months ago, and just let her know how excited we were to see it, and it didn't disappoint. And the book hasn't disappointed either. It's gotten some pretty good reviews.
Yeah, it's been doing really well. It seems DC certainly got what they were hoping for there, with growing number of readers and kind of reaching out to a younger audience and a female audience. So yeah, that's a good pick. Our next category is the most underrated book, or book more people should be reading. Again, my list is long. There's a lot of books out there that I hate to see the numbers on, that I believe are good books that are worth reading, that just maybe don't have enough exposure, or for whatever reason, they don't have Batman in their title, so they don't sell. So Clone, which we've mentioned at length, The Rise of the Magi, another book we've talked about already. Cowl, I've mentioned that one several times, from Image. Star Spangled War Stories, starring G.I. Zombie, which has actually already been canceled, but is going to, I believe, go to issue 8. Bunker, which is a creator-owned book over at Oni Press by Joshua Hale Fikolov. Archer and Armstrong, a really great, fun buddy book, kind of a buddy cop drama, time travel, alternate history book from Valiant. And A Voice in the Dark from Laramie Taylor. Those were the ones I considered. Do you have any to add to that list, Manny?
No, my list is fairly similar to yours once again.
Okay, well, my pick is A Voice in the Dark, which I've mentioned the book and Laramie Taylor several times. Again, you can go back and watch my episode, A Voice in the Dark Spotlight, that I recorded previously. For those of you that don't know, Laramie Taylor is a disabled creator. He both writes and draws A Voice in the Dark with his mouth. And this is a book that stars a young, early 20s female of color. She's an African American. So for those of you out there who complain there's not enough books out there with female leads, there's not enough books out there with people of color, there's not enough diversity in comics, well, here's a book that's got all those things, and it hasn't been selling that well, and it really deserves more attention. And just to give a brief synopsis of the series, this girl kind of struggles with urges to kill, and the book is about how she deals with that. And think of it almost as kind of a what if you could get into the mind of a serial killer and find out they really weren't as evil or as twisted as you might expect them to be from the outside looking in. So it's a great book. It's certainly worth reading. It took me by surprise. I believe when I read the first issue, the third issue was out already, and I pretty much couldn't read issue 1 to 3 fast enough. And as soon as I finished issue 3, I wanted issue 4 immediately. And the first 2 books are kind of one arc, and then the next 5 are a second arc. And then right now, Laramie took a little break, and then right now, I believe just this last Wednesday, issue 2 came out of the second season of the book, so to speak. And that's titled A Voice in the Dark and Get Your Gun. So check it out. It's a great book, and Laramie, as I said, writes and draws it with his mouth, and he definitely could use the support. So give it a try. A Voice in the Dark, Laramie Taylor from Top Cow. All right, Manny, what's your pick? What book should more people be reading, in your opinion?
Well, my pick, it's been G.I. Zombie since I picked it up. It's a great book. It seems like it would catch on pretty well with the trends that are happening with Walking Dead and zombie runs and zombie walks on Halloween and things like that. It's kind of what's in right now, and it's something that Jimmy touched upon on one of his panels. That maybe it's just due to the fact that it doesn't get as much exposure as Superman. When John Romita Jr. went over to Superman and Jeff Johns was going to write the book, every DC book you opened had a big old splash page of Romita is coming with a big old Superman. Everybody knows Superman books are gonna sell. They probably should take a little bit more, effort in marketing a book like G.I. Zombie, because the story is very strong. It's great. It starts you off with somebody trying to get into, I guess like a biker gang, I guess you'd call it. And, to prove herself, she shoots this, quote-unquote, random person in the head, only to find out that, it's the zombie, it's the soldier, and he's able to regenerate parts of his body, and the story is just really good, and, I think everybody should have been reading it. When I found out it was being canceled, I was pretty upset.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great book. Beautiful, fully painted art by Scott Hampton, written by Jimmy Palmiotti, Justin Gray. Covers done by Darwin Cook, and it's not what you would expect. You hear G.I. Zombie, and right away you think this must be a war comic. But it's not set in World War II. It's not set on a battlefield. It's more about modern warfare. Taking on militia groups and things of that nature, and I'm going to keep reading it till the end, all the way up through issue 8 or 9, and just unfortunate it's been canceled already. Like we've said, people complain there's not enough diversity in comics these days, but how many Batman titles do we need? But at the same time, these comic companies are in the business to make money, so they're going to go with what sells. And that's just unfortunate, because books like G.I. Zombie that deserve to be read, and I'm sure Jimmy had a lot more stories he could have told. They fall by the wayside, and that's just unfortunate. So on to our next category, biggest disappointment of 2014. Things I considered: Superman Unchained, Forever Evil, G.I. Zombie having only 8 issues, as we mentioned. Those were kind of the more comic-centric things I considered, and then also a couple of comic-related stories that disappointed me in 2014. As I mentioned, the passing of Jeremy Dale, and then the Janelle Aslan harassment situation with her critique of the Teen Titans #1 cover that drummed up a lot of vitriol on the internet, I guess you'd say. How about you? Biggest disappointment?
Biggest disappointment for me, it had to be the length of time between books and Superman Unchained, and then also New Suicide Squad. Really disappointed me. I was a big fan of Suicide Squad up to Forever Evil. They did a great job at Amanda Waller controlling the team. Team chemistry was always on the brink of breaking, but it worked. You had that struggle between Deadshot and Amanda Waller, and then they brought in Gordon's son. I don't remember his name, and then they switched it over to New Suicide Squad, and they made it a little bit more political. They added Deathstroke, they added Joker's daughter, Black Manta, and out of all of them, the one that really worked well was actually Black Manta. But come on, you're really gonna control Deathstroke? And there was a little bit too much political banter in between it, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought, as much as I wanted to. Also the fact that they, took out Boomerang, things like that. And then, it's important to me that this, that this is good, because, Suicide Squad has been approved for, to I think they start filming in April, and it's something that people are gonna want to read more just to get familiar with the character. So I think it's important to have a strong story.
Suicide Squad. Yeah, how can you have a Suicide Squad without Captain Boomerang? So that's your pick, huh? Suicide Squad?
Yeah, just because, I mean, it's just important because if DC's trying to compete with Marvel now with movies, and obviously then it's going to lead to movie sales, but we also want, comic book to get some of the revenue. Yeah, it's important that it has a strong story.
Yep, understandable. I went with Superman Unchained, and the reason I went with that is just because I so looked forward to that series when it was first announced at WonderCon a few years ago, and I believe it really suffered from the delays. The story lost momentum. I feel like the art wasn't up to Jim Lee's normal standards more toward the end of the series, I'm sure because he was rushing to get it out. It's the same reason Forever Evil is on my list. They had to delay other books that were actually ready to be done because they gave away things that were going to happen later in Forever Evil. And, it just hurt. Books are late. It hurts the momentum. It hurts the sales. And ultimately, these companies are hurting themselves. So that's what I went with. Superman Unchained. Had such high hopes for the series. And I don't know, it kind of went out with a whimper instead of a bang. And I'm sure at some point in the future I'll sit down and reread all the issues in one sitting from 1 to 9, and that'll give me a better feel for how good the story actually is. I'm sure the story is not as good as I expected it to be after the first couple issues, and probably not as bad as I felt it was after the last couple issues. The truth is probably, as usual, somewhere in the middle. So, Superman Unchained, my biggest disappointment of 2014. Okay, our next category, biggest comic story of 2014. I kind of lumped the DC movie TV, Marvel movie TV, constant news in one big block. Also, the Marvel female Thor made big news, big headlines. That was actually announced on The View. Likewise, the Falcon taking over as an African-American Captain America, also announced on a TV show. I believe that was on the Stephen Colbert Report. So big news. Harley Quinn's popularity, which we talked about earlier, was also a big story running throughout 2014. As I mentioned, for my biggest disappointments, the Janelle Aslan Teen Titans cover fiasco. Similarly, the Milo Manero Spider-Woman cover fiasco for Marvel. I mean, you hire a Spanish erotic artist to do a cover. You don't know what you expect. Of course, he's going to push the boundaries of what's tasteful. Amazon buying Comixology made quite a few headlines in the world of comics in 2014. The continued dominance of The Walking Dead on AMC seems to break viewing and ratings records every other week. And then the speculation of the big events for the big two in 2015, Convergence and Secret Wars. Those were all stories I considered as the biggest story of 2014. Have any to add to that, Manny?
Yeah, I want to add the emergence of the Flash on the CW. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. The TV budget, it wasn't going to happen. It's not going to be as good. With Arrow, they're able to keep it simple just because they for a long time they kept a golden rule of no superpowers. But with the Flash, you obviously have to break that rule weekly with his rogues gallery and his superpowers, obviously. But that has turned out really well. Every week has been like another issue of the Flash. They do a really good job at casting. Captain Cold, to me, could not have been casted any better. Same guy from Prison Break.
Wentworth Miller, yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people also doubted Grant Gustin to see, if he's going to be a good Flash, and now everybody's complaining because he's not going to be in the Justice League. Now they want him to be a full-time Flash, which I don't blame him. He's great. And, they do a really good job of leaving, little cliffhangers at the end to keep you wanting more. And so, yeah, it just comes to show you that on TV, with the right team, you can you can really do a good job at putting out a good comic book show. Also, what really surprised me was Gotham. I actually went into Gotham with kind of minor expectations, just because you're not really used to seeing all those characters that young. You didn't really know what kind of stories they were going to put out, and how fast they were going to move along. But it's done surprisingly well. Fox, I think last week they picked it up for a second season, so I was really happy to hear that. Oswald Cobblepot has emerged as one of the better characters. Jim Gordon, they did a great job casting him as well. The guy playing Edward Nygma, I can't remember his name right now, but I look forward to his development as the Riddler, because he is weird. But I love it. Jada Pinkett Smith has done a really good job at making a new character out of Fish Mooney. So a lot of things that were kind of in the dark and taboo as nerdy and weird are now turning mainstream. And it's great to see people all of a sudden interested in something that you've been interested for years, that they at first considered dorky and nerdy.
So is that your pick, Gotham, or are you going with the Flash?
I'm gonna go with the Flash, just because there's no better comic book show out there than the Flash.
Yeah, I haven't watched any comic book shows on TV really yet, which probably surprises a lot of you. I plan on it. I will get there. The thing that stands out to me about the Flash is how they're constantly announcing these new cast members of classic Flash villains, members of the Rogues, and often actors that I haven't heard of, although I did know who Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcell were from Prison Break. But seems like they're constantly bringing in more and more members of the Rogues. And there's Firestorm, and there's Atom, and there's, really cool, really great job. I will catch up with the Flash. And also having Reverse Flash, Tom Cavanaugh, great actor. So, yeah, Flash.
You do know that Mark Hamill's going to reprise his role as a trickster.
Yes, heard that as well. So
you're getting Mark Hamill involved. So
yeah, I definitely need to get caught up with the Flash and Arrow both. And I should say that Corey Michael Smith is the actor that plays the Riddler.
Thank you, because he's one of my favorites on Gotham.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of cheat, and I'm just going to throw DC movies, DC TV, Marvel movies, Marvel TV as a story in 2014. Just the rise of these intellectual properties, these characters who come from the world of comics, taking a more primary role in popular culture, both on the small screen and on the big screen, as the biggest news of 2014. Marvel and DC both announced sweeping plans for the next 10, 15 years, a big slate of movies to come for both movie studios. And, I know they probably won't all be good. I hope the majority of them will be good. If you would have told 12-year-old me that all these comic book movies and TV shows would be coming in my lifetime, I probably would have been even more anxious to grow up and get to a point where I didn't have to hide the fact that I read comics or be embarrassed about it. So, yeah, definitely the biggest story of 2014 is just how prevalent these characters have become in popular culture today.
So besides Batman vs Superman, because that's obviously the movie you're most looking forward to, which of the other movies announced are you looking forward to?
Well, I don't know that I would say I'm most looking forward to Batman vs Superman, just because I worry David Goyer is still attached to it, and for me, the guy, he just doesn't get who Superman is. He tries to make him too dark and gritty like Batman because of the success of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. So I'm hopeful for Batman vs. Superman, but I don't know that I'm looking forward to that one the most. I would say at this point, with The Rock cast as Black Adam, that perhaps the Shazam movie may be the one that is most on my radar. But at the end of the day, for the same reason I used to always buy team books, like Legion of Superheroes when I was young, I felt like the more super-powered characters I got in the issue, that started in the issue, the more characters I could see, the more characters that were crammed in there using their powers, the more money's worth I was getting, you know. So for that reason, I'm going to say the Justice League movie. I'm more of a fan of the DC characters than the Marvel characters. That's not to say that DC has done a better job with their cinematic universe to this point, because obviously they haven't. Marvel has done a better job. But there's also something to be said for the fact that DC owns the rights to all their characters still.
True.
Whereas Marvel, you know, they have Fox has the X-Men and Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four. Is that right? Or no, Sony has Spider-Man, and then Fox has X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't own all their. If they owned all their characters, maybe I would feel a little bit differently. You know, Marvel has done a good job with the Avengers, but to see a Justice League movie with some of my favorite comic book characters of all time, Batman, Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, all on the same screen, all on the same team, that's probably my number one. But, you know, Shazam's right up there too. Suicide Squad, again, not sure how I feel about Will Smith as Deadshot. I definitely don't. How that works. Yeah, it's not. Would have probably even been on my top 10 list. Not to say that Will Smith is not a good actor, and it's not because he's black. I could care less about that. I don't see him as the snarky, smarmy Floyd Lawton. I just don't see it. I am disappointed that Tom Hardy dropped out as Rick Flag. Hopefully, you know, they talked about Jake Gyllenhaal. He turned it down.
I'm glad.
The latest rumors I heard, Gary Sinise. Mm-hmm. He would be good, I think. So, yeah. So basically, when it comes down to it, the movies I look forward to the most are the ones that have the most characters.
Oh.
But that being said, you don't want too many characters. They try to squeeze too many in, like the latest Amazing Spider-Man movie, and it just
oh my God, yes,
falls apart. So
that could have been such a good story if, you know, they would have just left it with the Green Goblin and expanded it a little bit more. Yeah. But that's another story. But
it's a story for another day.
Yeah, but just to get off my chest, Aquaman is what I'm mostly looking forward to.
Yeah,
especially after they announced Jason Momoa.
Yep.
As Aquaman, I was like, wow, this is gonna be badass.
Agreed. You know, like I said, I mean, I guess I'm just greedy, because not only do I want Aquaman, but I also want everybody else too. So
like
that's why I picked.
The world will finally see what Aquaman really does.
Yep, true. And, you know, the Green Lantern movie, I liked it. A lot of people didn't. It definitely wasn't a financial success. So seeing the return, kind of a reboot of Green Lantern in the Justice League movie, that's something else I'd look forward to. Similar to the way Marvel couldn't seem to get the Hulk right.
Yeah.
The movie with Eric Bana was just terrible. I felt like the Edward Norton one was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. We just watched it the other day.
And then they seemed to really nail it and get it right with the Hulk as he was portrayed in the Avengers.
Well, we still haven't seen a solo movie, so
true, but they seem to have gotten the kind of hit the sweet spot of the way they want him portrayed on the big screen. So hopefully DC can do the same thing with Green Lantern. His solo movie was a flop, but maybe they can get it right in the Justice League movie.
And maybe he doesn't need his own movie.
All right, our final category to get back on track here, the book, project, or event most looking forward to in 2015. What do you got for nominees?
Convergence, the DC event. While they're moving from New York to Burbank, the DC offices, there will be a 2-month stop on all issues, and they're going to release a 2-part series where, I mean, it all comes together. Pre-New 52, different universes, different worlds, they all come together. And, I mean, we're going to get, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to get some writers from pre-52 titles.
Yeah, there's a few series where writers that were working on those properties at that time. So, for instance, you have Marv Wolfman on the new Teen Titans of the late 80s. You've got Greg Rucka on The Question of the 90s and things like that. So, yeah, definitely it'll be an interesting event, kind of a walk down memory lane for a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's going to be good to see, you know, with maybe some of these writers stay on. Also, with them dumping, or not say dumping, but canceling 13 titles. You know, what are we going to see after that? We've also touched a little bit upon Batman, whether we're still going to get the team of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And then the other thing I'm looking forward to is see how the Valiant turns out. I just got issue 2 a couple of days ago, and that is amazing. I also got my solicitation down for Ninjak. A couple of covers for that. They look great. And not to mention something you introduced me to, the Con Job that's going to be coming out. And also, at some point this year, can I please get a trailer for Batman, Superman, and then not to mention just to see how great Age of Ultron is probably going to be.
Yeah, I think that trailer for Batman, Superman is supposed to be out in February. So
yeah, I mean that's probably going to be a teaser. It's going to be pretty short, but I mean just full on trailer. We probably won't get that till the fall, winter.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, books or projects or events I'm most looking forward to. Ninjak, which you mentioned from Valiant Comics. Something interesting that Valiant's doing there. It's going to be a 40-page book, your regular 32-page feature, and then an 8-page backup in each issue for the same price. They're not raising the price. It's not going to be a $4.99 book. It still will be a $3.99 book. Definitely looking forward to that. The art by Clayman that I've seen so far has been amazing. He is on my list as the #1 artist I need to get a commission from this year. Likewise, the Divinity series from Valiant about a Russian cosmonaut, one of the first humans into space, returns to Earth with vast powers. Sounds very intriguing to me. Manny already mentioned Convergence. Yeah, very interested to see how the DC Universe looks after Convergence. There are certain series within Convergence that I will read. I will read the main Convergence series, and then each limited series, there's going to be 40 limited series that are going to be 2 issues long. And as Manny said, it's an event that's going to cover the time when DC editorial moves from New York to Burbank. And so all these issues, having been done ahead of time, are going to be released in April and May, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so each issue will be certain realities, certain universes of DC versus another universe or reality of DC. So each miniseries will feature 2 distinct universes or time periods of DC Comics. So I'll kind of cherry pick the ones that seem the most interesting to me, or I have the most nostalgia for. I probably won't read them all, but what has me most intrigued is to see what comes after, because as Manny said, they've announced 13 books are ending before Convergence started, before Convergence starts rather, and we also have the 3 weekly series ending right before Convergence starts. So that means that there are going to be 25 less books per month put out by DC if they don't replace those titles. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, because obviously some, if not all, 25 of those books are going to be replaced. So we could see a Cyborg series, for example, or a Shazam series, or
a Shazam book.
There's lots of choices. A Green Lantern, Green Arrow series has been speculated on, with the popularity of Arrow and Flash. The TV shows have one spun out of the other. So very interested to see what happens there. Likewise, Secret Wars, regardless of what Marvel Comics says, it is a reboot, relaunch, restructuring a la Crisis on Infinite Earths. They can brag all they want about having never rebooted their universe, but at the end of the day, that's what this is. They're smashing all their universes together. They will cherry pick the things they like the most and get rid of some of the things that cause continuity problems or things that simply don't make sense, and come out on the other side with what I believe will be a more cohesive universe with a more streamlined history that makes it easier for people who are fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get into the comics without feeling like they need to go back and read years and years of back issues. Now, whether Marvel cancels all their books and starts everything over with #1s is something that we don't know yet. It wouldn't surprise me We saw DC get a big boost in sales with the New 52 when they relaunched everything with #1. Marvel already seems to have a great fondness or proclivity for restarting books with #1, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. As Manny mentioned, the Con Job by Jimmy Palmiotti and Matt Brady is a book I am very anxiously awaiting in 2015. Also, the Archie reboot by Mark Waid and Fiona Staples. Archie comics are still hanging around.
Unbelievable.
They've been around forever. Not a lot of changes through the years with Archie, so I'm very interested to see what comes out of seeing two of the most critically acclaimed comic creators of recent years get their hands on Archie. And also Tithe from Matt Hawkins and Rasan Ekadal. They're sort of a heist series about a crew ripping off mega churches. Very anxiously awaiting that. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to go with Ninjak. It was very close. I almost chose Tithe, but Ninjak, Matt Kent, Clay Mann, one of my favorite characters from the 90s Valiant. Getting his own solo series from Valiant has me the most excited, and I can't say enough about that art by Clay Mann. It just looks so good. I can't wait for that book. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those books that I read, and as soon as I'm done with each issue, I'm going to be angry that it's over and I have to wait 4 weeks for the next issue to come out.
How many of the covers did you get?
I think I ordered 2 or 3. I'm not sure. I'm sure I'll get them all digitally, but I believe I ordered either 2 or 3 of the covers. And it may come down to where I end up getting them all. I just pick up the others at a convention when I can find a good deal on them. Some of those 1 out of 25 or 1 out of 100 covers are kind of expensive, so
true.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'll
A
wait,
little bit more.
look on eBay, see if I can get them for a decent price. So
If you love Ninjak, he has a great moment in the Valiant #2. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but I was surprised.
Well, since you mentioned the Valiant, I should say that my next episode on the Comic Source will be covering the Valiant issues 1 and 2 from Valiant Comics. That'll be coming your way in a couple days. So I want to thank everybody for joining Manny and I, and we'll see you soon.